Okay, we've talked about the lungs, we've talked about the kidneys. Now we want to talk about them working together and how they manage the blood, specifically how they manage blood pH. So we have normal blood values, pH of 7.4. We have our bicarb values at 24 milliequivalents per liter. That's a fairly average number that varies a little bit. This is under control by the kidneys, whether or not the kidneys excrete or resorb or retain, move back to the blood, the bicarbonate. Partial pressure of carbon dioxide, we saw in our diagrams with the lungs, 40 millimeters of mercury. So Hg is mercury for our partial pressure. That's controlled by the lungs. So if we're controlling blood pH, the lungs are going to work with carbon dioxide. They are the quick control. We can adjust moment to moment, minute to minute by how we control our breathing. More long term from the kidney, we get into set points of what do we do with the bicarbonate? Do we get rid of it? Do we keep it? And the kidneys are going to handle that on a more hour to hour, day to day basis to help maintain the blood pH at 7.4. So, lungs, quick control, kidneys, more long term control. And we illustrate this with the Henderson-Hasselbalch equation. We've mentioned it before, but we really want to kind of get into how that works today. Those of you that go on to advanced nutrition with me will spend some time on the rumen. We're going to focus here on what the lungs and the kidneys do and take a side trip into how the blood chemistry, blood pH interacts with uh, our hemoglobin molecule. So carbon dioxide plus water, we have our carbonic anhydrase enzyme that's going to create carbonic acid. Carbonic acid is going to immediately dissociate into a hydrogen ion and a bicarbonate ion. So we create more or less hydrogen ions by moving this equation back and forth, by playing with the amount of carbon dioxide in the lungs or the amount of bicarb in the blood with our kidneys. So we can move things back and forth, and that's called mass action. So we've got the blood pH determined by the blood carbon dioxide and blood bicarbonate. We just saw that in the Henderson-Hasselbalch equation. Lungs control the partial pressure of carbon dioxide. We hyperventilate, we breathe a whole lot more, and they're going to decrease the blood pH. And we'll show you how that works. Hypoventilate, we're going to leave the carbon dioxide in the blood. We're not going to blow out as much, and we're going to increase the blood pH. Kidneys, we're going to control the bicarbonate, or not the blood pH. We're going to increase or decrease the carbon dioxide. So hyperventilate, we're going to decrease the carbon dioxide. Hypoventilate, we're going to increase the carbon dioxide. More breathing, more carbon dioxide out. Less breathing, more carbon dioxide stays in. Kidneys, control of sodium blood bicarbonate concentration. They can either resorb it, they take it out of the nephron, put it back in the blood to conserve it, or they're going to be set up to let it go. More bicarbonate ends up in the bladder. We're going to lose bicarbonate and therefore decrease the bicarbonate concentration. So either conserve to increase the bicarbonate concentration or let it go to decrease. So the Henderson-Hasselbalch equation works by mass action. If we add reagents on either side, we're going to shift or push things to the opposite side. If we add stuff over here, we're going to push the equation this way. If we add stuff over here, we're going to push the equation this way. And we can think about that as building piles. As we get more of any of these reagents, we're going to push things there. We're not, say, making it heavier and pushing it down. We're building a pile to lift it up, and then everything runs downhill. So normally we think about water as more or less infinite in the body. There's more of that than any other component in this equation. So this is more or less always in excess. The lungs are going to control the carbon dioxide. The kidneys are going to control the bicarbonate. This is an unstable intermediate. It's going to move to either side very quickly. And then what we're trying to control in the blood is the amount of hydrogen ion, which is our determinant of blood pH. So if we want to have a net reduction of hydrogen ions, we need to move the mass action this way. And there's two ways we can do that. The lungs can decrease the carbon dioxide. They can hyperventilate. So they're going to decrease this pile, make it smaller. Or we can have the kidneys increase the bicarbonate. We're going to make this higher. The kidneys are going to resorb that bicarb, put it back in the blood. It's not going to let it go. So what's going to happen is in both those cases, we're going to shift the equation this way, and that's going to reduce. As a bicarbonate grabs a hydrogen ion, makes carbonic acid, moves over here, we're going to try to balance things out, and we're going to take these hydrogen ions away. We're going to reduce the amount of them, and this is the confusing part. By reducing the hydrogen ions, we are going to increase the pH. So decreasing this is going to tilt it this way. Increasing this is going to lift this end up. Everything's going to flow in this direction. We're going this way. So reducing our hydrogen ion concentration, increasing our pH. So that's something you're going to have to work through. And just get that in your head as you build these piles, shift everything to this side of the equation. We need to reduce our hydrogen ion concentration. We want to do the opposite, increase our net hydrogen ion concentration. We want to move the equation to this side. We want to create more of these. And the two ways to do that are to increase carbon dioxide in the blood. So to do that, we have to slow the breathing down. We need to let the carbon dioxide back up in the blood. So this is going to build this pile up. If we want to get rid of these, we want to run in this direction or increase these, we need to get rid of these to draw the equation in this direction. We decrease the bicarbonate. The kidneys are going to let this bicarbonate go and shift everything in that direction. So increase our CO2 by hypoventilating, decrease our bicarbonate by putting more in the bladder, the nephrons not collecting it, sending it on to the ureter, the bladder. Everything's going to move in this direction, and by that we are going to increase our hydrogen ion concentration. We're going to decrease the blood pH. Remember, the higher our hydrogen ion concentration, the lower our pH value. Negative log, so they're opposite. As the hydrogen ion concentration goes up, pH goes down. As hydrogen ion concentration goes down, pH goes up. So those are the mass action things. We need to think about how oxygen is released by hemoglobin. I alluded to this in an earlier lecture. So as we get out into the tissues, we have increased carbon dioxide because of the metabolism in the tissues. That's going to shift the equation this way. That's going to increase hydrogen ion concentration. We have kind of a clicker clacker kind of thing here. As this increases, our hydrogen ion increases, it tends to hit the heme in our hemoglobin and knock off the oxygen. So the higher the hydrogen ion concentration, the lower the pH, the more the heme is willing to give up that oxygen. So more respiration, more hydrogen ions, more dumping of the oxygen in that area. So this is a way where we kind of get a pendulum thing going. Hydrogen ion knocks the oxygen off. When we get back to the lungs, we tend to knock it the other way and we push the CO2 out of the blood into the velus, and then it gets exhaled. So you kind of have the bouncing back and forth here out in the tissues. This kind of sticks to the heme, knocks off the oxygen. When we get back to the lungs, high concentration of oxygen comes in, bounces this way, increases this pool, shifts the equation this way, releases the oxygen or CO2 to be released in the lungs. So pickup and release of the oxygen in the tissues is promoted by this max action CO2 generating hydrogen ions. I believe that's it for this particular section.